Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, President Obama speaks out about the unrest in a small Missouri town after a police officer shot and killed an unarmed black teenager.
California's and San Diego's water supply is now in the hands of voters. How the new water bond could impact our region and why some say it won't do much for the drought. I'm Peggy Pico with that conversation. And when will construction start on the 27-mile-long North County Corridor Plan just approved by the Coastal Commission?
National City celebrates a new, safer way for kids to walk to school. We'll tell you about the community effort. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Police in Ferguson, Missouri are being criticized over their handling of protesters over the past 5 days, and neighbors are out demonstrating again tonight. The outrage is over the shooting death of an unarmed black teenager by a police officer. Last night, police in riot gear used tear gas and rubber bullets attempting to disperse the crowd, which many are saying was excessive force. President Obama today called for calm and peace on both sides of the situation.
There is never an excuse for violence against police or for those who would use this tragedy as a cover for vandalism or looting. There's also no excuse for police to use excessive force against peaceful protests or to throw protesters in jail for lawfully exercising their First Amendment rights.
Police also arrested some members of the media last night. Missouri's governor today announced the State Highway Patrol will take over security, and the FBI and Justice Department are conducting a civil rights investigation into Saturday's shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Here in San Diego, activists are participating in a vigil to oppose incidents of police brutality. KPBS Metro reporter Taryn Mento spoke with the organizer, who says what happened in Ferguson isn't an isolated event.
At 20 minutes after 4, San Diegans in City Heights and in cities around the country observe a moment of silence for victims of police violence. Kim Moore, who organized the local event, said it's a peaceful way to show solidarity against police brutality.
Obviously, we know that what happened in Ferguson, Missouri is not an isolated event. This happens all throughout the U.S., and we really wanted to give people a time to recognize that, but to remember those victims as well.
Moore said she took that into consideration when selecting the Annex as the gathering place.
It's in the community where we see most of centralized incidences of racial profiling and police violence.
Existing data on racial profiling in San Diego is inconclusive, but City Heights residents have repeatedly complained to the San Diego Police Department. In response, the department is outfitting some mid-city officers with body cams as a deterrent to racial profiling. San Diego Lieutenant Ray Valentine said earlier this afternoon police will monitor the vigil, but he expected it to be peaceful.
We are preparing to make sure that they have every right to exercise their First Amendment rights peacefully and as long as they want to.
That's a message that Moore is spreading as well. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
Tonight, we take a closer look at a water bond approved by state lawmakers last night. The $7.5 billion measure goes before voters in November. Peggy Pico is looking at its potential impact on drought-stricken California and San Diego County.
Joining us with more on what the water bond deal means for San Diego is Dennis Cushman, Assistant General Manager at San Diego County Water Authority. Welcome back, Dennis.
Thank you, Peggy.
Now, why does the County Water Authority support this new bond?
Because this new bond is Californians' next investment in more reliable water supplies for all of California, and importantly, a good opportunity for those supplies here in San Diego County.
And we call it a new bond because it was originally, the first bond was $11 billion,
Right.
and this is now dropped a little bit. If voters approve it, how would this benefit the San Diego region?
Well, this bond has good sums of money for us to be able to compete for what we know to be San Diego's next future water supplies. More recycled water, potable reuse of recycled water, turning recycled water into drinking water here in San Diego County, and potentially more seawater desalination for us here in San Diego County. It also has funds for conservation, groundwater remediation, and other opportunities for us to improve our water supply reliability.
Specifically, how much of the $7.5 billion would San Diego get, and where would it be spent?
Well, the vast majority of the money in the water bond is to be competed for. It's open and competitive, which is what San Diego supported with our legislators in Sacramento. There's one pot of money that's divided by regions among the state, and San Diego County got its fair share allocation in the bond that the legislature approved.
Do we have a specific
yesterday.
number on that?
Yeah, it's $52.5 million out of about $520 million. So about 10–11% of the funds available in that chapter allocated just to the San Diego region.
What projects here would benefit?
Well, projects like the City of San Diego's landmark Pure Water program. The city is studying a game-changer project to potentially turn almost 100,000 acre-feet of recycled water into potable reuse here in San Diego County. It's an innovative project and one that represents a key part of San Diego's water future.
A little more than a third of this bond, $2.7 billion, is dedicated to construction of dams and reservoirs. Some environmental groups express concern that this bond will actually facilitate the governor's twin tunnel projects, which they oppose. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, first on storage, we need more storage here in California. And the San Diego County Water Authority on the cutting edge of that with the recent expansion of the San Vicente Reservoir in East County. So dams are not the only answer, they're part of the answer. Recycled water, conservation, groundwater remediation. It is that diversification approach that will improve California's water supply for the future.
Do you think it paves the way for the governor's twin tunnel project?
No, I don't. And I think there's no better spokesperson for that than Senator Lois Wolk from the Delta region, who made an unequivocal statement last night that this does not facilitate the Twin Tunnels project.
Critics also say that we should focus our efforts on conservation, and this bond wouldn't actually do much to mitigate the effects of the drought. How do you see the bond actually either preparing us for the next drought or helping us with this one?
Investing in a reliable water supply in California is not a job that's ever going to be done or completed. We have to make a continual investment in reliable water supplies. Conservation is and already is playing a critical role in managing California's water supplies. Here in San Diego County, our water supply use is down 20% since 2007. So Californians, San Diegans are conserving, but you can't conserve water you don't have. And this bond is a piece of the puzzle, solving a piece of the puzzle for improving reliability for the next multi-year drought we're going to experience. The
Sierra Club has said it's going to campaign against this measure. What do you think the chances are that voters will actually approve this?
I think given the conditions in California, the drought, the historic heat that we've been experiencing, drought and water supplies are top of mind for California voters, and I think they know a reasonable bond, a prudent bond when they see it. I think when you see the bipartisan support that this measure got in Sacramento last night, I think Californians are going to understand that this is an important investment in our future.
And when you say bipartisan support, it was unanimous with all sides in the Senate.
It was unanimous in the Senate, and among our San Diego County legislators, all 11 of our legislators, led by our Speaker of the California Assembly, Tony Atkins, did a masterful job getting that measure through the legislature.
If voters approve this, then can you, when could we see the money, and when could we start to see any effects of that as far as building or construction or anything moving forward?
It takes a period of time for the state agencies that receive the money to come up with the rules and regulations for how agencies like the Water Authority and the city and other of our retail agencies can submit applications for grant funding from the bond. So it's a multi-year process.
All right, County Water Authority Dennis Cushman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Peggy.
The drought is also affecting the nation's largest reservoir, Lake Mead in Nevada. It's at its lowest level since the 1930s when it was first filled. Tracy Brown with the Associated Press tells us concerns about a water shortage could affect millions of people in 7 fast-growing states.
Desert landscapes where once water flowed. Boat docks resting on Lake Mead's bed. A marina once teemed here with boating activities. Now the no boat sign lays in the dried up mud. After 14 years of drought in the Colorado water system, water levels in the nation's largest reservoir have hit all-time lows.
It's lower than it's ever been since the reservoir was actually filled in the 30s.
Lake Mead's water levels are expected to drop to 1,080 feet above sea level this year. A drop of just another 5 feet will trigger water cuts to Arizona and Nevada.
This lake provides drinking water for those in Arizona, Nevada, California, as well as down in Mexico, and it also provides agricultural water and resources for those folks.
A source of constant tension. 3/4 of Colorado River water goes to farms, but 3/4 of the people live in the region's biggest cities. Farmers get first dibs on water under agreements dating back to 1922. Despite being the first in the water line, now even they are forced to cut back.
I've downsized in the last couple of years. Probably a good thing, the way this water shortage is going. Right now I have 1,500 acres. I'm growing about 200 acres of cotton, probably 10 acres of alfalfa and 15 acres Sudan grass, and that's about all we can farm right now with all the water we have.
For Nevada, local authorities say 7 out of 10 get most of their water from Lake Mead. If Lake Mead levels go down to 1,000 feet above sea level, drinking water intakes to Las Vegas would go dry. Conservation steps in the face of the looming shortages have already cut demand by 33%, Las Vegas water authorities say, and they're working to add more capacity.
The Southern Nevada Water Authority has 2 existing intakes, and we're putting the 3rd intake in place because we want to be able to ensure our community that we can get to and access clean water.
Phoenix does not impose water restrictions, but officials boast that with recycling, the city uses the same amount of water today as it did 20 years ago, despite adding 400,000 more residents. City planners now grappling with the effects of the prolonged drought.
If these conditions continue on and become more than normal, there's really additional things that we will need to do to both reduce our use of that supply or reduce our reliance on that supply.
Water users worry that regardless of whether they're first in line or last in line, in a drought, nobody gets water. Tracy Brown, Associated Press.
In the South Bay, National City celebrates a new, safer way for its kids to walk to school. KPBS education reporter Matt Bowler says it marks the end of a 9-year-long community effort.
Walking to school in National City just got a little bit safer. Carolina Martinez from the Environmental Health Coalition says it's the end of a nearly decade-long journey.
So in 2005, the community put together priorities for this community, one of them having a safe routes to school program.
The new safer route is officially open.
2, 3. Yeah!
Parents can drop off their children at the official child drop-off, which is the parking lot of the Big B's Market in Delhi. The students can then walk the safe route that runs the 3 blocks south to Kimball Elementary. The $1.8 million project includes special corners that bulge out into the street that makes cars slow down.
Look at all these people gathering together just to celebrate, some street work going on. We're doing 8th Street also right now, finishing it off. Next thing, we got D Avenue. We just finished 4th Street.
And it's going to create excitement for the community and let them know, yes, if you get involved in planning, you can make a difference.
Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
Our coverage of the State Coastal Commission's approval this week of the controversial North County Corridor Transportation Plan continues. Here's Peggy Pico.
The vote was unanimous for the $6.5 billion North County Corridor Plan to be phased in over the next 40 years. Sandag explains how it'll change things.
The North Coast Corridor Program is a blueprint that combines a $6.5 billion investment in transit, highway, bike, pedestrian, and environmental projects into one complete program that respects the unique character of our coastal communities.
Alan Kossep, Caltrans I-5 Corridor Director, joins me with further details. Alan, there are 3 main components to this plan which impacts the 27-mile-long stretch from La Jolla to Oceanside. What can people expect to see as they travel that North Coast corridor along I-5 next year?
Okay, so the 3 components, real succinctly, we've got about half of that rail line is single track. We need to double track the entire line. We're planning to build 2 additional lanes on the freeway in both directions, basically from La Jolla all the way through Oceanside. And then we have a number of resource enhancements to the lagoons and bike paths and walking trails that are being put into the project. The first set of projects is about $500 to $600 million worth of projects. They would extend the carpool lane, 1 lane in each direction all the way to 78, and then do a number of the double track improvements. That's what would be built in the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh, in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
How did you incorporate public response to this project into the final plan?
Okay. I'll give you three examples, I think. One is initially we were thinking of building an additional general purpose lane out there. We clearly heard that that was too big of a footprint, too much of an impact to public property and to private property. We took that general purpose lane out. Second example, we had been thinking about putting a ramp above I-5 at Manchester. People were concerned of the visual impact. We ended up sinking it below in a tunnel to get rid of that visual impact. And then we frequently work with the public to figure out the aesthetic design of bridge and retaining walls.
Well, opponents of the plan say that Caltrans used outdated information to calculate traffic and the freeway expansion aspects of this project, and that this project would increase air pollution, which is in conflict with state laws, they say, calling for a reduction in greenhouse emissions. What is your response to that criticism?
Freeways make terrible parking lots, and the problem with parking lots is the emissions. So the existing congestion that's out there today causes emissions in itself, and so we need to get the freeways to operate more efficiently, and by doing so, we will reduce the emissions, and including the greenhouse gases. In terms of it being an outdated plan, as a 40-year plan, we have a number of check-in points along the way to make sure that the project is still consistent with the population growth, and we have ways to refine the vision as we move through the 40 years.
Well, this North Coast Corridor plan is being challenged in court. And what impact do you think this case could have on whether the project actually continues to move forward?
Really hard to say. The court case has not even been heard yet, and so we're moving forward to begin construction next year on that first phase.
You're not going to wait and find out?
We're definitely not waiting to find out.
All right, Alan Kossub, thank you very much. Now, I also spoke with an opponent of the project. Here's that side of the issue. Jack Hsu with the Cleveland National Forest Foundation. Welcome to Evening Edition. Now, Jack, your group is suing the North Coast Corridor plan for trying to stop it from moving forward. Why are you opposed to this plan?
We're specifically opposed to the highway expansion, and primarily because alternatives were not seriously looked at. Here's the best example of where we can go from cars to rail. We have a parallel rail line, and neither Sandag or Caltrans looked at that seriously as an alternative to building more freeway lanes.
What is the aim of this lawsuit? I mean, do you think it'll make a difference in affecting funding?
Not so much funding. The difference is we can have a healthier population, a better economy, if we move from cars to rail. And Caltrans hasn't done that. They haven't looked at all the negative effects. In fact, they haven't told us, and that's why their EIR is deficient.
Do you really think this lawsuit could stop this plan from moving forward?
I don't know. That's going to be up to the courts. But I think the sad part is that it is in the courts. We go to the third branch of government when the legislative and administrative branches fail, and they have failed the people here, failed to protect us, or at least let us know what the impacts of these projects are like.
You're also against widening the freeway, as you were mentioning, but backers of the plan say that the region's population is growing. There's already bottlenecks and gridlock in the North County along this corridor. Without more lanes, what's your solution?
Well, first of all, San Diegans should know that adding more lanes does not relieve congestion. We know that. If you add a lane, at best, you relieve congestion for 2 to 4 years. So where are we going to be in 10, 20 years from now? How many freeway lanes can we build? And if you want to use HOV lanes, high occupancy lanes or bus lanes, you could do that now with existing lanes. We need to reduce the amount of vehicles traveled if we want to meet our greenhouse gas emissions goals in the future by 15 to 20%. So sometimes 32%, some estimates go. If we want to reduce that, why would we want to spend $3.5 billion building more freeway lanes? We should be putting that money into alternative forms of transportation.
Alternative forms such as trains only or something else?
Trains primarily, because we know that works. And San Diegans know that, because if you go to a Padre game, if you go to some event at Calquam, it's the trolley line that's bringing in people, not buses, not cars. That's the more effective way to bring in people into the city and have them travel around.
Were you surprised by the support from the Coastal Commission?
I wasn't too surprised because the massive, I guess, just failure of government and elected officials to give us a better plan, to look at alternatives. I think that's the sad part of the whole situation.
All right. Well, we have a lot more about this on our website, kpbs.org. Jack Hsu, thank you.
Thank you.
Visitors are officially banned from the beach area at Children's Pool in La Jolla. The vote was unanimous today. They'll be banned during pupping season. That's generally between December 15th and May 15th. KPBS video journalist Katie Shulov spoke with people on both sides of the issue.
The California Coastal Commission heard dozens of speakers over 5 hours before finally voting on whether to ban visitors from the children's pool in La Jolla. Former San Diego City Councilwoman Donna Fry supports the access restrictions.
It provides clarity, it's easy to enforce, and you don't have to spend thousands of hours talking to people about whether or not a seal was harassed. If you're on the beach, you're in violation during pupping season.
The City Council originally voted in the regulation in February, but it needed final approval from the Coastal Commission. Councilwoman Sherry Leitner, who represents the area, opposes the restriction.
It's an extremely dangerous precedent because that has had the public physical access there for well over, I would say, 100 years. I mean, there's a reason it was chosen for the development of Children's Pool there.
The seawall at Children's Pool was built in 1931, shielding the beach from crashing waves. Shortly after, it was deeded to the city as a recreational area for families to enjoy. By the 1990s, seals had started taking over the beach. Beach access advocates and animal protection proponents have clashed over the issue ever since. A rope barrier is currently up year-round, but a city staff report says that the barrier and laws against animal abuse have not prevented harassment of the seals. The new restrictions will take effect at the start of the next pupping season in December. Katie Shulov, KPBS News.
We have an update tonight. The wife of Robin Williams says he was in the early stages of Parkinson's disease and was sober at the time of his suicide. Susan Schneider says Williams was struggling with depression and anxiety. The comedian and actor was found dead on Monday. He was 63. The number of pertussis cases confirmed in San Diego County has hit a new record. County Health Agency says to date nearly 1,200 cases have been reported this year, surpassing 2010's record high. Experts say whooping cough tends to go in cycles and peaks every few years. Home prices in the county were on the rise last month, but sales were down compared to a year ago. The tracking firm CoreLogic DataQuick says the median home price last month was $445,000. That's up from over $417,000 last July, and over 700 fewer homes were sold. A public awareness billboard campaign unveiled in San Diego today confronts the epidemic of human trafficking as well as the sexual exploitation of children. The billboard campaign is a collaboration between the County District Attorney's Office, Clear Channel Outdoor, and the Alameda County District Attorney's Office. For 3 decades, the Spreckels Organ Society in Balboa Park has been bringing silent movies to life at the Organ Pavilion. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says if you love action films, you need to check out what's on tap Monday night.
If you love Hong Kong action star Jackie Chan and his movies Police Story, Shanghai Noon, and Rush Hour, then you might be interested to know that silent comedians like Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton were major influences on his work. This Monday at the Spreckels Organ Pavilion, the Organ Society will screen Buster Keaton's short film, 1 Week. The film stars Keaton as a newly married groom who's given a build-it-yourself house that he has to complete. This film, and more specifically Keaton's Steamboat Bill Jr., were the inspiration for the final stunt in Jackie Chan's Project A Part 2, in which Chan brings down the house as a tribute to his silent film idol. 1 Week will screen with Monty Banks's Chasing Choo-Choos. Both films will have live accompaniment from Scottish organist Donald Mackenzie. The concert begins at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, but arrive early because silent movie night draws large crowds. 1 Week is Keaton at his best, and seeing it as it was originally intended with live music and a crowd of people will make you realize why his films were so popular. You may also develop newfound respect for the amazing stunt work of silent comedians who worked without green screens or modern-day safety precautions. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. An engineering and economic marvel. The Panama Canal turns 100. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
We are back to more summer-like temperatures through the weekend around here. Morning clouds along the coast, turning to afternoon sunshine, mostly in the upper 70s beachside. A bit warmer for the inland valleys, temperatures in the mid 80s with plenty of sun. Not much of a change for the mountain areas, mid-80s as well, low to mid-80s over the next couple of days, but dipping into the 60s at night in the mountain areas. The desert, oh, plenty of sun, and you know it, well above 100 degrees. Let's recap tonight's top stories. State Highway Patrol in Ferguson, Missouri. The small town there is taking over security of the city after police and protesters clashed again last night. The demonstrations follow the fatal police shooting of an unarmed black teenager. Many criticized police for using excessive force last night to disperse protesters. The Justice Department and FBI are conducting a civil rights investigation into Saturday's shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Iraq's Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki stepped down today. He says he's turning over power to Haider al-Abadi to prevent any more bloodshed in the country. Maliki is a Shiite and has been criticized for contributing to the Iraqi crisis by excluding other groups from power. Of course, we'll have more on this story coming up on the News Hour at 7. California lawmakers approved a $7.5 billion water bond last night. It now goes before voters in November. San Diego City Council will meet Monday to consider overriding the mayor's veto of an ordinance. It would increase the minimum wage in the city and give workers 5 sick days. At least 6 votes are needed to override Kevin Faulkner's veto. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.